What the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Think about that. If this is true, why do so many people remain trapped, waiting for motivation to strike before starting something? Perhaps what's holding you back isn't a lack of motivation, but an addiction to waiting for the perfect moment, which never arrives. Today, I'll show you through Hill's teachings why self-discipline is the only real way out. If you wait until you feel ready, you'll die stagnant. Have you noticed that often you know exactly what you need to do, but you simply don't do it? You look at that task, consider how important it would be to complete it. Even imagine the results it could bring, but still, something holds you back. It feels like your body freezes, your mind invents excuses, and you procrastinate. This happens because most people have been conditioned to believe they need to feel motivated to begin. They wait for that day when they'll wake up full of energy, inspired, ready to act. But this wait can be endless. The truth is that motivation isn't the initial spark. It's the flame that ignites after you've already started moving. That's why so many lives remain stuck in the same place. People wait to feel ready to start a project, open a business, begin taking care of their health, or even have a decisive conversation, but they never feel truly prepared. And in this cycle, months, years, even a whole lifetime pass them by. The secret lies in reversing this order. It's not motivation that creates action, it's action that creates motivation. When you take the first step, even without wanting to, you trigger a powerful mechanism called momentum. It's like pushing a stalled car. At first, it requires strength, resistance, but once it starts rolling, the movement itself makes the next steps easier. And this isn't just theory. Think of a salesperson who needs to make prospecting calls. While they postpone the first call, fear grows, anxiety increases, and the weight of the task seems unbearable. But the moment they take a deep breath and force themselves to dial the number, something happens. Anxiety diminishes, confidence grows, and each subsequent call becomes less burdensome. They didn't wait for motivation. They acted. And by acting, they created motivation. Now think about yourself. How many times have you postponed something that could transform your life because you were waiting to feel more confident? How many opportunities have you missed because you were waiting for the perfect moment? Napoleon Hill experienced this firsthand. When he was a young reporter, he was assigned to interview Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest and most influential men in the world at the time. He wasn't prepared. He didn't have enough experience to deal with someone of that caliber, and everything in him screamed to refuse. But he didn't wait for courage to emerge. He didn't wait to feel ready. He said yes and went. This simple act of forcing himself opened doors that changed his life. It was this encounter that gave rise to his decades of research, which resulted in the teachings that continue to transform millions of people today. And here's a harsh but necessary truth. While you're waiting to feel like it, other people are acting without any desire, yet achieving results. This happens in all areas. Do you know someone who started exercising without enjoying it, but months later couldn't live without it? Or someone who started a small business without complete clarity, but discovered the path in the process and now makes a living from what they built? This is only possible because they decided to act first and let clarity, confidence, and motivation come later. Psychological research confirms this. Confidence isn't a prerequisite, it's a result. In other words, you don't need to be confident to begin, you need to begin to become confident. The same goes for motivation. Those who understand this free themselves from one of the greatest mental blocks that exist. Someone who only acts when they feel like it is condemned to live in oscillation, never achieving consistency. Those who act even without wanting to create consistency, and that consistency builds concrete results. So, the question you need to ask yourself is, how long will you let your life remain stagnant, waiting for a feeling that may never come? And what if, instead, you simply took the first step now? even a small one, even imperfect, but breaking this cycle of waiting. Because the moment you move, no matter how difficult it is, your mind begins to react. It understands we're doing it and begins to cooperate with you. And that's the true secret of great achievers. They don't depend on feeling like it. They've learned to force themselves. And that, in the end, is the only real way out for those who refuse to die stagnant. How many times have you found yourself paralyzed by fear? Fear of failure, fear of judgment from others, fear of not being good enough. The mind begins to whisper, what if I fail? What if everyone laughs at me? What if it doesn't work out? These questions repeat like an echo, and suddenly you realize you haven't even taken the first step. Fear feeds on precisely this: inaction. It grows in your imagination, gains strength in the hours you hesitate, and the longer you wait, the more insurmountable it seems. But here's the truth almost no one realizes. Fear is a liar. Most of the things you fear never actually happen. Psychological research has shown that more than 80% of the worries people carry never become reality. And even when something goes wrong, you're almost always much more resilient than you imagine. Look, it's not that winners don't feel fear. They do. The difference is that they don't let fear decide the next step. They understand that courage isn't the absence of fear, but the decision to act despite it. Think with me. What was the last time you regretted trying something, even if it didn't work out? The most common regret isn't trying and failing, but never having tried. That hurts much more. And to prove that this is the key, just remember the story of Edwin C. Barnes, an ordinary man without money, without connections, but with a burning desire to work with Thomas Edison. If Barnes had let fear control his life, he would have stayed home, convincing himself that it was impossible to get close to one of history's greatest inventors. But what did he do? He hopped on a freight train, went to Edison's office, and declared that he would be his business partner. At first, they only gave him a simple, almost insignificant job. But since he never gave up, when the real opportunity arose, he was prepared. Barnes became a fundamental part of Edison's business precisely because he dared to act when fear said, "Don't go." Now, stop for a moment and ask yourself, how many doors could already be open in your life if you had faced your fears? How many opportunities have you missed because you were waiting for the moment when you wouldn't feel fear anymore? That moment doesn't exist. Fear only weakens when you walk toward it. It's like facing a shadow. From afar it seems gigantic, but when you get close you realize it wasn't that big after all. And I know you might think, but what if I really fail? And I say back to you, what if that failure is exactly the learning you needed to succeed in the next attempt? Look at anyone you admire. All of them, without exception, have collected failures. The difference is that they didn't stop. They decided that each stumble would be a ladder, not a wall. So the question is, will you continue letting fear hold your life hostage? Will you continue feeding an enemy that only exists because you keep it at bay? Or will you finally move, even with the voice of doubt screaming in the back of your mind? The answer you give to these questions will determine the course of your future. And remember, fear never disappears on its own. It only loses its strength when you take the first step. How many times have you told yourself, tomorrow I'll start? Tomorrow the diet, tomorrow the studies, tomorrow that project tucked away in the drawer. But that tomorrow turns into weeks, months, even years. And when you realize it, you're in the same place with the same life, only more frustrated for not having done anything. This is procrastination, the silent enemy that seems harmless but steals from you what you have most precious: time. And time, unlike money, never comes back. Procrastination has a very dangerous disguise. It doesn't arrive saying, "Don't do anything." It arrives with clever excuses. You say you need to prepare better, that you still don't have confidence, that you're waiting for the perfect moment. But tell me, when was the last time the perfect moment really appeared? It doesn't exist. It's just an illusion created to justify your inertia. And the more you feed this weight, the harder it becomes to get out of it, because you train your brain to postpone and seek immediate comfort instead of future results. And there's a simple trick that can change this pattern. The 5-minute rule. Tell yourself you'll do a certain task for only 5 minutes. It seems little, it doesn't demand a heavy commitment, and your mind accepts. But when you start, something happens. The initial weight disappears, you get involved, and you end up spending much more time than you imagined. This happens because the most difficult barrier isn't in continuing, it's in starting. Now, think of the times you spent hours scrolling through your phone feed or binge-watching a series without realizing the time passing. Have you noticed how there's always energy for distractions? But for the things that really matter, we invent excuses. This contradiction happens because you've accustomed your brain to seek easy and immediate rewards. And the only way to break this cycle is by forcing yourself to act before feeling like it. Napoleon Hill said that the greatest enemy of progress is not failure, but hesitation. And he was right. During the Great Depression, when millions were desperate, he didn't stand still waiting for the storm to pass. He continued writing, teaching, spreading his ideas. If he had procrastinated, perhaps his work would never have reached us. Procrastination will always try to convince you that you're not ready yet. But what if I told you that no one is ever completely ready? What differentiates those who achieve from those who lag behind is the decision to start even imperfectly. It's preferable to take a clumsy step today than to spend another year standing still, planning the perfect step that will never come. So ask yourself, how many dreams have you let die because you waited too long? If you had started back then, where would you be now? Tomorrow isn't guaranteed. The only time you have is now. So make a simple choice. Begin, even if it's small, even if it's ugly, even if it only lasts 5 minutes. Because each small action today is a victory against the silent thief that wants to steal your future. And each time you overcome procrastination, you prove to yourself that you're capable of much more than you imagine. Most people believe they need motivation to act, but this is a dangerous illusion. Motivation is unstable. It comes and goes like the wind. Discipline, however, is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. And it's precisely this that separates those who dream from those who achieve. Because discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. It's getting out of bed when the alarm clock rings, even if it's cold outside. It's sitting down to study when it would be much more pleasant to turn on the television. It's saving money when everything inside you screams to spend. Discipline is the true fuel of success. In the beginning, it's difficult. Stepping outside your comfort zone for the first time feels unbearable. Your body screams for rest. Your mind conjures excuses, and you start believing you can't handle it. But something incredible happens when you resist that urge and persevere. You begin to reprogram your mind. Gradually, the impossible becomes natural. The habit of action becomes ingrained, and that's where discipline starts forging freedom. Now pause and reflect. How many times have you let your emotions make decisions for you? How many opportunities have slipped away because you waited to feel ready or simply weren't in the mood to act? What if instead you'd chosen discipline? How different would your life be today? The truth is, the world is teeming with talented, intelligent people who never achieved their potential because they lacked discipline. Simultaneously, countless ordinary individuals have accomplished extraordinary things through unwavering commitment. The point is clear. If you crave lasting results, you must learn to act regardless of how you feel. Discipline bridges the gap between where you are and where you want to be. Each time you cross that bridge, even when exhausted and unenthusiastic, you inch closer to your goals. The ultimate reward isn't just what you achieve, but the transformation you undergo. Because discipline isn't punishment, it's liberation. It's proof you can rely on yourself, that no one controls your life's trajectory but you. Pain is an inevitable visitor in everyone's life. We all face loss, rejection, failure, and disappointment. But what separates those who thrive from those who crumble isn't the intensity of the pain, but how they choose to navigate it. Many allow pain to crush them, while others transform that very weight into fuel. True strength emerges when you refuse to flee, using pain as a catalyst. Humans instinctively avoid discomfort, yet it's within discomfort that the greatest growth, leaps, reside. It's where you uncover strengths you never knew you possessed. Science backs this. Psychological studies reveal that individuals who've overcome serious adversity, bankruptcy, personal loss, illness, often develop greater resilience, adaptability, and even higher levels of personal satisfaction. In other words, pain doesn't just test you, it can forge you into something stronger. History's giants demonstrate this pattern repeatedly. Steve Jobs, for instance, was fired from his own company, Apple. Imagine the humiliation, the pain of being ousted from your creation. This could have shattered his career. Instead, he used that pain as fuel. He founded new companies, evolved as a leader, and years later returned to Apple, steering it to the global giant we know today. The failure that could have defined him as a loser became the crucible that forged the version of himself who would revolutionize the tech industry. Napoleon Hill also endured profound hardships. His life wasn't a constant parade of triumphs. He suffered significant setbacks, personal failures, and faced criticism and disbelief. But instead of letting these episodes destroy him, he transformed each into a learning experience. His most powerful ideas emerged during difficult times because he understood firsthand that pain could be a teacher. Perhaps this is the key you need now. If you're facing difficulties, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" reframe the question, "How can I use this to grow?" This shift transforms pain into a tool. Instead of bearing suffering as a burden, you utilize it as energy. Remember, pain will knock on your door sooner or later. You have no choice in that, but you always choose how you react. Will you let it be a full stop, or will you make it the fuel that propels you to the next level? Because ultimately, pain doesn't come to stop you. It comes to prove you're capable of becoming far stronger than you imagine. Without a clear destination, any path seems suitable. That's why so many feel lost, wandering in circles, constantly busy, yet achieving nothing. Life without clear goals is like navigating the open ocean without a compass. You move, but never reach a true destination. Goals provide direction, focus, and meaning to daily actions. The problem is, most dream vaguely. They say, "I want to be happy. I want to be successful. I want to earn more money." But what does happiness mean to you? What constitutes success? How much more would you like to earn? These loose phrases are mere wishes, and unstructured wishes lack transformative power. Real goals must be clear, specific, and measurable. When you write, "I want to lose 10 pounds in 2 months," that's a goal. When you note, "I want to save $1,000 by the end of the month," that's a goal. It's concrete, has a deadline, and you know exactly how to measure progress. Napoleon Hill reiterated that a goal is a dream with a deadline. He lived this. During his interviews with prominent entrepreneurs and leaders, he noticed a common thread. They knew exactly where they were headed. They didn't drift through life hoping something would happen. They planned, pursued goals, and above all, acted daily toward them. This clarity transformed ordinary men into legends. You might think, but what if I fail? The answer is simple. If you fail, you'll still be far closer than if you hadn't tried. Each attempt reveals a path that works or doesn't, and that's progress. What truly destroys dreams isn't failure, it's inaction. Clear goals don't eliminate risks, but they reduce uncertainty and exponentially increase your chances of success. Consider your life today. What goals guide your days? Do you have clarity about what you want, or are you simply going with the flow, letting chance dictate your path? This reflection is crucial because time waits for no one. Each undirected day is a wasted day that never returns. Here's a challenge. Take a piece of paper and write 3 specific goals for the next 30 days. Clear goals, with deadlines and measurable criteria. Each day, read these goals and commit to taking at least one step toward each. If you do this, you'll realize that in 1 month you'll have progressed further than in years of loose thoughts and empty promises. Because ultimately, it's not wishes that change your life, but clarity translated into consistent action. Success is never accidental. It's built by those who dare to precisely define what they want and possess the discipline to pursue those goals until they become reality. Waiting for motivation is choosing stagnation. Those who truly transform their lives aren't those who wait to feel like it, but those who act even when they don't want to, who confront fear, conquer procrastination, cultivate discipline, use pain as fuel, and pursue clear goals. This combination of attitudes opens doors and alters destinies. If you understand this, you're ready for the next step. The next video will help you ascend another rung on this journey of wisdom and growth, making you at least 1% better than you are today. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.